Hey guys, it's me. Hope everybody was having a good week. There's a lot that's been going through my mind that I would love to talk about, but I've been trying to focus more on smaller topics without just going all over the board. So, that being said, we're going to poke a little bit of fun at churches that act like there's a war between Jesus and Santa Claus. Yeah. Every time I've gone to work in the last few weeks, there's been a handful of churches, at least half dozen on my way to work and back, that talk about how God's greatest gift didn't come in a sleigh, it came in a manger or cradle or whatever. Who cares? Truth is going to manifest itself no matter what. It's not like we have to fight lies just to get truth to shine. If that's the truth, but anyway, truth left alone can defend itself. Our job is to just lift it high enough for other people to see it. So, that being said, I guess I'm going to throw myself under the bus when, well, let's start with James, chapter 5, talking about if anybody among them is sick, let those people call the elders of the church. Elders of the church will anoint the sick man with oil, or sick person, whatever. And that person will be saved, and God will raise him up, because it's the prayer of the faith. Their prayer of faith is what will give God an avenue to work. So there's all these people that talk about how they believed God for this and that, and it just didn't happen, or this person died, even though I prayed for them as best I could with all my heart. Then their heart is not that, they're still in control of their heart more than God is. If they were able to conform themselves, well, if they were that conformed to who God wanted them to be in Him, it wouldn't even be a struggle. They wouldn't have to sweat out a prayer to get this person in a place for God to lift them up. So, a lot of parents, even Christian parents, are talking to their kids about believing in Santa Claus and believing in Jesus. And how's the kid going to discern the difference between one and the other if he ain't never seen one or the other? Parent can say, well, Santa Claus isn't real, but isn't that already discrediting yourself in a kid's eyes? I don't know. I don't have kids, thank God for now, but it seems like lying is just kind of crippling their ability to believe. Just guess, whatever, do what you want. But for me personally, I was born with partial deafness in my right ear. Those little hairs that transmit the sound from the outer ear to the inner ear, the canal to the drum to whatever, to the brain, they didn't grow right. So that didn't stop me from functioning. I can do just fine. But it's not wholeness in God's eyes. We can just say it that way. And obviously, I was born with it. It's something I struggled with all my life. And I remember 8 or 10 years ago, a little after I got filled with the Spirit, I was talking to God about it. And then He told me exactly what I needed to do if I wanted my healing. He said, just keep confessing the Word. Just keep confessing the Word. Confess your healing. You'll get it. Just do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Never did. Tried for a little bit, fell out of it, nothing happened. So where do I get off saying I believe in God? Is that a fair question or not? If I believed God, I would have jumped right up as soon as I heard that and fought for it until I got what he told me I could have. I remember one time I went to the dentist, told me I had a cavity. We made an appointment to get it filled the next day. I got home and I was just sitting there at home thinking, well, that kind of sucks. And God's like, well, you don't have to have that cavity. If you want to just walk around, spend some time with me, confess this healing for the next 4 or 5 hours, you don't even have to worry about it. I sat there for another 5 minutes and then started playing video games instead. Why? Just didn't believe him. It's as simple as that. If I can throw myself under the bus, I sure hope you guys can be honest with yourselves too. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. But that's something that, I have tried to hide behind other people's ministries, getting up in prayer lines for them to pray for me to get healed. God told me this was my fight, and it's something I have to deal with because it's part of my maturing and my growth process. But still, I got up in all these prayer lines from traveling evangelists, and nothing really happened because I didn't think that was worth fighting for. I had no problem fighting for other people. I've talked about that chick with fibromyalgia that God used me to help her get out of it, and then things fell apart between us and she went right back into it. And there was people with chronic nightmares that God used me to give them some hope. I fought for them. It's easier to fight for other people. I guess knowing you can be a crutch for somebody else is easier than being your own crutch. So, that being said, I hope God's been telling you something that you can follow through with. I hope me throwing myself out there and and struggling with this is able to be a stepping stone for somebody. Because this was, I knew God wanted me to talk about this, but I was not at all too excited to discuss it. It's not something I like bringing up anyway. And again, that just comes right back around to really believe in God. How much do I believe God? Not enough to act on everything he says. And if you think that doesn't hurt to say, you got another thing coming. But truth, if you want it, you're not going to be able to escape it until you don't want it anymore. Which, case in point, truth comes, you got a choice to believe in it or not. And I don't even know why it's so hard to talk about. I've just never enjoyed doing it. More truth. God told me when I was planning on moving down here and leaving all my family and everything behind that not to worry about them. He'll take care of them. I just gotta be the one that starts the ball rolling. And every holiday season there's been this cloud of depression that tries to come on me. And it's been getting better and better. But it's still something I struggle with, untamed emotions. Lack of belief in God. If I believed what he said, I wouldn't have to have a second thought about what I'm doing here and the things I've given up. Once I set my hand to the plow, I ain't supposed to look back. Neither are you. It's not easy, though. So, what's God been saying to you that you're afraid to do? Once you throw yourself out there, it ain't that hard to let Him carry you. But me looking at a 5-hour investment of time, 10, 20 hours, however long, just for the sake of repeating myself over and over and over, I'm still trying to not see that as a liability. I'm still trying to believe God for what He told me in that arena of my life. And I've seen Him do all kinds of things in other people's lives. And it's something I know He's been guiding me towards for especially hard for the last few months. It's He'll pull me towards it and give me a choice and deal with it then or come back around to it later. And I kept running from it and running from it. And I know the time's coming where me running from it is going to walk me right out of God's grace. It's going to leave me out there vulnerable in a position that I put myself in where God can't protect me. Why? Because I walked away from God. As long as we're progressing in God, we all come to that point in every decision with our lives. There's been, when I was still in high school, I was wondering what I wanted to do with life. And I was just sitting on my bed thinking about it. God asked me if I wanted to work with Him. I said, well, yeah, you saved me from stuff. And yeah, let's knock this out. And before, my heart was right there ready to say something, and then he paused me for a second, and He started showing me all these things that He wanted me to push through. He gave me a chance to weigh my options instead of just running off at the mouth like a good little church person. And all the same, my heart was still there, still wanting to work with God. But I knew it wasn't going to be as easy as going to church Sunday mornings and putting on a little mask for all the happy church people there. It was going to be a lifestyle. It was going to be a lot of going against the grain, a lot of tearing down of what the church has established in the name of God. A lot of coming against people that try and justify their belief by making God look like a villain. Well, I believed my aunt wasn't going to die. God must have wanted to take her home. I'm sorry, do you not read the Bible? Any of it? No. Don't wonder why nobody wants to go to your church. That's a shame on you for spreading that kind of crap. But that don't make death easy to deal with. There was one real good friend that died that I choked and choked and choked on it for a long time. There's been birds in the backyard if you can hear the dog freaking out about it. And but oh crap, no, I forgot what it was. Yeah, dead friend. I knew there was more that I could have done, but I also knew that this friend just was ready to give up. She got tired of fighting, so no matter what I would have been able to do, if she threw in the towel, it was her choice. There's nothing more I could have done. But this friend had seen God work through and through and through and through. She got tired of fighting. Man, don't even think that didn't hurt. Took me a few years to get over that. That grief opened the door for some demonic stuff into my life. Just depression and grief. It was something that I would stash those emotions away with those memories, and every time, for quite a while, at least 2 or 3 years, that I would start pushing into God. Man, this stuff would just well right back up, and I would just start choking on it again. I just didn't know how to deal with it. So I just fell back into a spiritual catatonic state where I just couldn't do much. 6 or 8 months had passed. I'd try pressing into God again, man, the same thing would rise up. Finally, after 2 or 3 years, I looked back and at that time and just saw that I hadn't done a single thing but make a living. I've got to deal with this. Man, it was not easy. But it gets easier to talk about now. And it's a lot easier to talk about now. And it's a good way for burnouts to realize that I wasn't fed at church with a silver spoon, because that's the impression they have of a lot of Christians. Just sheltered sheep. Can't experience the world because they make it a taste of what living is and not love God anymore. And quit going to church. Man, get out of the way of God so he can show who he really is, so people want to get to him. Quit trying to put God in a box and paint the box so you have no idea what God is outside of your own emotions, your own desire to see how things play out. Man, we're at his mercy, not the other way around. Kinda. Ultimately, in the long run, we are at God's mercy. It does not behoove us to put him, who's got our absolute best interest in mind, in a box in the closet, just so we never have to look at him, so we can't see the things in us that don't reflect him. So, a lot of people that say they're believing, especially when you watch things fall through for what they were believing for, if they justify their stance, why even bother talking to them about God? They're not in a place to learn. All they're doing is trying to conceal their pride with doctrine. I can see why I'm so popular. You know, on the flip side, I knew God was calling me to Tulsa, halfway across the country from my family, everything I grew up with, and I believed him to that part. I believed him with that part of my life. I was able to fill my car with the gills and drive down here, never having been down here, not knowing a whole lot about the church that I came here for, knowing that there was this couple from where I grew up that I'd hung out with maybe a dozen times, that had gone there, had come down here about 6 months prior. That was all I knew, man. Threw myself out there for God. And I have grown leaps and bounds since then, He did not stop coming through for me, day in, day out. There were so many cool opportunities. It's not like, well, believing in Him is hard on the part of us that wants to believe in ourselves. I can believe in Him with that. I can believe in Him that He'll get my friends healed through me. Well, really through anybody, but a lot of my friends want nothing to do with church people. So they let me in because we get along pretty well. I believe God for them, for every part of their lives, for restoration, health, wealth, and prosperity, just their salvation. And God's trying to help me get over myself enough to believe in Him for myself. It's easier when you can disregard somebody's flaws, all their shortcomings, all their weaknesses, all their fears and insecurities and doubts. As far as I go, I got to see mine every day. I have to live with playing out the what ifs instead of just being strong-kneed with a strong backbone and standing up for somebody else, for God. It's a lot different when you got to go to bed with the same issue you woke up with. You can't just be around it for a couple hours and part ways and go back to your own happy little life. So, man, I hope that helps somebody. Yeah, that's all I got, I think. Love you guys. Hope you guys are having some good family time with the family you got around. Or the friends that are as close as family. I'm going to see a bunch of them tomorrow. Saw a bunch of them yesterday. Yeah. So, till next week. Love you.